All right, we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So there is a major exploit going on with wallets on the Solana ecosystem as we speak. Okay, so this started happening yesterday since our live stream, and I want to get on today to talk about this and try to figure out what's going on here because we're still kind of getting to the bottom of this, and there's a lot of people affected. So I'm going to talk about that in this video today. How we can try to protect ourselves in the future and a whole lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step by step from start to finish, then definitely head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. So we got people jumping in the chat here. We got David Stone, CodeChap. Let's see here, HD5 Solutions, Kodia, Michael, Opie. Welcome. We'll give it a couple minutes, wait for people to kind of filter it, flood into the chat here. I think it takes YouTube a little bit longer to show these videos to people over the past month or so. It seems like stuff gets a little bit slower at the beginning. But yeah, we'll let people jump in here. So anyways, we'll go ahead and set the stage for this. We got technically Dacho. Welcome. So there is an ongoing exploit happening right now in the Solana ecosystem with wallets. And, we've got some details coming out about this, but it seems like we haven't really gotten to the bottom of exactly what's happening. But let's just kind of pull up the article. I'm going to look at that, look at some tweets, and try to gather as much information as I can and piece this together for you all so that you can see what happens. First and foremost, if you use Solana and you have funds in a wallet, I would first just go check that wallet right now and see if your funds are still there, okay? Be very careful about how I talk about this because probably people watch this video who are affected by this exploit because it's pretty wide. So anyways, Solana exploit enters second day as CEO points to attack on Apple hot wallets. So as of 5 a.m. UTC on Wednesday, Solana said 7,767 wallets have been hit by hackers. Basically, they're saying it looked like a supply chain attack on iOS-based wallets. Let's look at the details. So again, it's another hack or exploit, whatever you want to call it, in the ecosystem. We talked about one yesterday. Again, we're seeing a lot. You're seeing some of these things pop up, really close to each other. And we're talking about later in this video how you can particularly protect yourself from these type of attacks. So let's continue on here. So a hack affecting the Solana ecosystem entered a second day on Wednesday with no firm consensus on the source of the exploiter or how it might be stopped. So this is still kind of a question mark, but it's still happening. So basically, 7,767 wallets have been hit. An estimated more than $5 million in assets been taken so far. And it looks like we're not necessarily done with the total count on this just yet. So we're not 100% sure exactly what the source of the exploit is, but it looks like a supply chain attack. So what is that? Basically, when a hacker enters modified software by injecting their malicious code into a system. So in this case, it looks like they think that the iOS code for the iOS wallet application itself could have some sort of payload injected into it that would allow the attacker to take funds out of the wallet and send it to their account. So in this case, they think it might be by some sort of iOS library to extract private keys. Okay, so if you understand, basically, if you're a developer, you probably understand this. If you're not haven't quite jumped into development yet, you may not understand this. So basically, like whenever you're creating applications, you can use these things called libraries, which essentially are code that you don't have to write yourself to make, writing code faster because you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you want to do something. So if you're going to build a blockchain application, like you probably use a library to make your app talk to the blockchain. There's no point in you writing the code that makes that happen. So you might install a library that somebody else wrote and pull it down into your application and use that code, okay? And so a lot of developers aren't sensitive to vulnerabilities and these are called packages basically. But sometimes that can be a danger of using a library is if it's not audited, it could have malicious code in the library itself. And so, let's say that there's a library that's used across different crypto wallets that may be unaudited or maybe is audited and just has some sort of security vulnerability in it. If that library was then installed in multiple different softwares for blockchain-based wallets, then all those wallets could have a vulnerability in it that somebody else could just inject. Okay. Now I'm not saying that every app is going to be vulnerable to that. Like not everybody uses that type of strategy, right? Or if they did, they wouldn't necessarily all use the same type of wallet. But that is a way where, a developer could create something and then unknowingly add malicious code to their own code that could cause something like this. So, attacker could just write a library that basically says, okay, take everything out of here and, send it to my wallet. So I'll show you an example of what a package like this could look like a little bit later. But that's what they're thinking it is right now without actual confirmation. So he came to this conclusion based on the fact that exploited wallets didn't have prior interactions with dApps and had remained inactive for some time. So I think I saw some numbers floating around that some of the wallets that were drained had been dormant for like 6 months. Okay, now many times whenever we see wallets get drained, there's different ways that wallet exploits can happen. Like sometimes somebody will get you to sign a message in your wallet that is not what you expect. Like if you have ERC20 tokens in your wallet or ERC721 like NFTs, sometimes you might get on a website that's like, hey, claim your free airdrop. You know what I mean? Or like claim your free NFT mint, and then you just like sign a message, but you thought you were signing a message to claim free tokens or something, but actually what you were doing was signing a message that lets people take money out of your wallet. So that's a common exploit, but that's not what happened here. That's what he's saying. Like that's why it's so puzzling, because you didn't have people some of these wallets have been completely inactive for a lot of time. So gaining access to private keys means the attacker has the ability to transfer funds out of the wallet, including Phantom and Slope wallet services. So this is a big deal because Phantom is a widely used wallet in the Solana ecosystem. So if you're a Phantom wallet user, I believe this is specifically for iOS. Okay, but I would just say if you have a Solana wallet of any kind, like go check it right now and see just to see if you're affected. So anyways, hot wallets are considered less secure than cold wallets as they connect to the internet. Cold wallets, meanwhile, also private keys with an offline hardware layer. Okay, 7,000 wallets have been hit. They're working with the engineers working with security teams trying to put fingers to figure out exactly what the vulnerability is. They're trying to figure out what the best solution here is moving forward. So definitely go check on that. We're gonna keep you all up to date on the details as these types of things come in. If there's a quick solution, definitely go follow me on Twitter. I'll be posting that as soon as I find out something, before we get onto our live stream tomorrow. Go give me a follow on there. I'll give you an update on the Solana stuff as it happens in real time. As soon as it happens. So let's talk about some ways to protect yourself from this type of thing. So there's a couple different things. So one for sure is, it's always really careful. It's really tricky to devise a security scheme that works for everybody in crypto. But I'm gonna give you some options, okay? Because you ultimately have to decide what's best for you. It's sort of like your own crypto investment strategy. Like not there's no one size fits all solution for everybody, right? But some things that you can do, first of all, you have to understand that in most of the mobile wallets, for sure, when you're talking about just spinning up a mobile wallet and then having a seed phrase in there, something like that, that's probably going to be one of the least secure wallets out there. Okay, so you definitely, if you're talking about just having a mobile wallet that's got your funds in it, without any type of backup, or without any type of second layer of authentication, or second factor, I should say, that's probably gonna be the most brittle storage solution for crypto. I think the second one after that would just be storing it in a browser wallet like MetaMask or Phantom in your browser. Okay, so what can you do to beef up the security on that? I mean, you can use a hardware wallet. Okay, that's definitely a second factor, because my understanding based on what's happening here is that a hardware wallet would not be vulnerable to this type of thing, because the private key for the hardware wallet is stored on the hardware wallet device itself, and you have to do a second layer of authentication in order to sign messages from that hardware wallet's private key. Okay, so hardware wallets protect you from those types of vulnerabilities of somebody, gaining access to your screen. If you have like a mobile, let's say if you have a hot wallet in your browser where they could just open your MetaMask and click send or something, right? Like you actually have to press a physical button. Now, one of the reasons I hesitate to always recommend hardware wallets for people is because there's lots of reasons. One of them is it gives them a false sense of security in crypto because they then think that they can just, are protected from anything. But like the tax I talked about earlier where people can drain your wallet based on approving messages that you don't understand. Hardware wallet's not going to save you from that, right? And sometimes it can actually make it worse because sometimes the message that you're confirming on your hardware wallet's like in hex and like you can't even read it, and so you're just like unknowingly clicking confirm. So definitely watch out for that. There's always other things you can do. People, even a more robust system than that is a multi-signature wallet because let's say that someone was able to obtain the private key for your hardware wallet, right? That's pretty unlikely, but it could happen, all right? You'd still have to have two different signers, so you'd have to get access to two different private keys. There's that level of security, you know what I mean? Also, at the end of the day, like, storing funds in multiple wallets with different strategies, right? Someone would have to obtain access to all those things in order to clean you out completely, right? Diversification basically. So there's different things you can do. Like I'm not going to recommend any one of these and say this is what everybody should do, but those are some ideas off the top of your head. All those things are going to make it less likely that someone could just like install software, a package into an application that has a security vulnerability and then clean you out, right? Let's say, and that's why I always try to stress, like, if you're going to do stuff on chain, like, definitely don't do it with your whole stack, right? Like, you always want to have a small amount of money in hot wallets if you're just trying things out, because, if you've played by those rules and then you got wiped out with something like this, like, you're not going to lose your ticket to the show. It would sting for sure. It would suck, but like, it wouldn't be a game changer in a bad way, right? So I've also some people say that they have seen Ethereum users affected by this. Okay, like we can see the accounts, like where the funds are going to. Well, let me just pull it up here. Let me just pull it up here. You can actually track where some of the funds are going to. So this looks like one of the addresses that is reportedly a part of the exploit. Okay, and you can see the activity going here. There's multiple Solana accounts, but some people are saying that they're also seeing funds for Ethereum-based accounts too. Okay, so kind of doing some digging on this. From what I just see talked about on Twitter, again, I haven't done a ton of due diligence to understand exactly what's happening with these types of use cases. Some people are saying that this is a hybrid of Ethereum and Solana. One potential thing here is that people used a common seed phrase across different wallets. Okay, so it doesn't look like this is widely impacting Ethereum users. It looks like it's a situation where if ETH wallets are affected, it looks like a situation where people used the same seed phrase in an Ethereum wallet and also a Solana wallet, and then the exploit happening on the Solana side of things. And because it also had access to funds on the Ethereum network, we're basically sweeping funds out of those related wallets. Okay. So, this is a thread where they're trying to dive in to the bottom of what's going on here. So sorry, this is the Ethereum address. I think he pulled up the wrong one a minute ago. Let me just pull it up. Yeah, here's the Ethereum address. Sorry, I pulled up the wrong one. I just copied the wrong one from the tweet. Yeah, it even says this address is reported to be involved in a hack affecting mobile wallets on Solana and Ethereum. So let's actually see what the transactions are. I mean, this looks like a pretty small impact here. So somebody says not your keys, not your crypto. Well, the thing that's hard about that is like these people ostensibly were actually managing their own keys, right? So like when people say not your keys, not your crypto, they're usually talking about storing your funds on a centralized exchange, right? Where you don't actually you're not custodying a private key. Like if you stored your Ether, your Bitcoin, your Sol on like Binance, for example, you might have a deposit address, but your funds aren't staying in that address, right? Like they're going into a big treasury wallet for that exchange. And then your account is just a record in a database, and then you withdraw to a self-custody wallet. But like if you have a MetaMask or a Phantom wallet or a mobile wallet, like Trust Wallet or something like that, then like you are custodying your own keys. Like those are your keys. You're the only person that knows those private keys. And that's the real tricky thing about, self-custody is it has its drawbacks too. Like if you don't, if they're like pretty much every self-custody strategy has some sort of trade-off to it. That's why I never say like this is exactly what you're supposed to do, because at the end of the day, somebody's going to do that, and then somebody's going to have their funds impacted in some way, whether they get exploited or whether they lose access to it themselves because they're their own the worst enemy. You know what I mean? And so like every self-custody strategy has crypto. So this is not really a situation of not your keys, not your coins. Like this is a situation where you are managing your own keys and there's a vulnerability in that. Because I see a lot of people saying that. It's like just coming with that, quick kind of that quick platitude, but it doesn't really apply in this case. Like this is a situation that totally exposes that platitude. So, one thing that's you only understand too about storing private keys is specifically when you're developing applications, like as a blockchain developer. Like whenever you're creating projects, one way that I see developers particularly impacted is essentially storing their private keys inside of inside their actual code. Okay, and this is sometimes required because if you're going to create a script or an app or something like, or writing smart contracts, let's say you have to deploy them and put them on a network. Well, you have to have a private key in your project in order to pay gas fees, right? To put your contract on the network. No matter what blockchain you're using, you have to pay fees to do that, right? And or let's say you're creating a script, right, where you're like, doing DeFi or interacting with some smart contracts on the blockchain. Like you typically have to store your private key or a seed phrase or something in your code somewhere so that you can actually sign transactions, right? And there's multiple strategies for doing this. One of the most common ways is basically just taking a private key and then storing it in like a secrets file or like a .env file. So first of all, never, ever, 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 ever commit a private key or a seed phrase to a project source control. Never, ever, ever do that. Because as soon as you push it up to GitHub, especially if your project is public, like there's bots that are literally just watching GitHub repositories to search for private keys, and it will like if you do git push and hit enter and you go, oh shoot, by the time you cancel it, like your wallet's probably already drained. So first of all, never ever ever commit private keys or mnemonic seed phrases to a GitHub repository. So the second is basically using a .env file or a secrets file where you have something that's not committed to source control, or you can put secret information in there that's specific to your environment, which is your computer. And if you put that on a server, you have a different environment variable or different environment variable file, right? It's per environment. So anyways, but even those, like you have to have the second layer of thinking. So the better rule of thumb here is you never ever use a private key, never use development accounts with accounts that you actually are using like for real on chain or storing any real money in. Okay, so if you're creating a project and you need to put some smart contracts on the network, use a developer account. Like probably the best practice is, not probably, but actually the best practice is to use a new private key per project. Okay, and then only fund that project with as much crypto as you need to do that project. Okay, because number one, if somebody ever got your computer, all they have to do, assuming that you just have a private key in plain text inside a .env file, is just take that, and then like that's pretty easy to like steal your money. But there's another way, which I want to talk about here in a minute, which actually ties into the vulnerability which we're seeing here with the Solana wallets. Is this now? I haven't actually done the due diligence to see whether this is legit or not. All right, whether this is real, but let's just take it at face value and say that it is. Yeah. Let's just take it at face value and say that it is, because this type of thing definitely is possible. So this guy's talking about a massive widespread malware attack on GitHub. Okay, so basically over 35,000 repositories are infected, and projects including crypto, all right, Golang, Python, JavaScript, Bash, Docker. Okay, so it's added to npm scripts, Docker images, and install docs. So basically, what he's saying here is it looks like there's some sort of commit that's happening that's just saying, okay, bump to version 0.3.11. Like that's a really common, just like, thing that developers would do. It does, like, there's nothing about, that's a commit message, right? And this doesn't look like something that would raise any red flags. You know what I mean? And so, but what's the content of that, right? Like, it looks like some of these repositories include commit from the original author, but commit is not GPG verified, okay? And the users do not exist. All right, some of the repos were archived, okay? So what some of these things do is, like, they'll send the entire .env of the script, okay, application, to the attacker server. So basically, that like just take all the contents of the env and then just post that to the server, and then that includes security keys, AWS access keys, crypto keys, and so all that does is like. All that does is just lets them have whatever contents are in there, and they can parse it out. And that includes a private key, wallet drained. So, he's saying the attacker creates fakes or repos and pushes clones of legit projects to it. Okay. So and then this one and this one, and then the original authors get the blame. Okay. So he discovered the exploit as he was, looking at all this type of stuff. So you have to be really careful about that. You have to understand who has access to your .env file inside your project, because even that's not a safe, even that doesn't make you completely secure from exploits. So, because some type of thing, let's say you got an npm package, right? You installed an npm package inside your crypto project, and you had a .env file in there, and that crypto package got to read your .env file and just like send the contents of it to a server or something like that, right? That's why you have to limit the amount of funds that you would put in a developer wallet, and never use a developer wallet with, real money inside of it, because that thing is, I think, super vulnerable. I know you can do things like use JSON key stores and add extra layers of password protection, all that type of stuff. But for most people, they're just going to be slinging around private keys. But if you're going to do that, then just don't put a bunch of money in them. So let's see here. Yeah, you definitely want to put a .env in the git ignore. That's 100%. Let's see here. So did you all, let me know if anybody was affected in the attack. Or if anybody has any other good ideas to add to what we can do about the stuff in the future. So Mike says the Solana wallet hasn't been drained. That's good. So any idea of how they can do it, how they're doing it? I mean, we don't have a complete, you don't have a complete story on it yet. They think that it's basically a package that's in the mobile iOS wallet that's sweeping funds. So Shabab says hardware can't stop this Solana attack. I think hardware probably will stop this Solana attack. I think the whole point here is that it's essentially a mobile application, and if the private key or mnemonic seed phrase is stored on that device, then if they have access to the device, they can take it off. So I do think this is a situation where hardware probably can, but we don't have all of the details yet, so I cannot say that definitively. Okay. Here's the thing I understand, like, that's another reason hardware wallets get people with false insecurity is, like, if anybody ever gets the seed phrase to your hardware wallet, they can still take your money. But unless that seed phrase is completely protected, it does keep you from just somebody like, a software attacker. Like nobody's going to probably be able to create software that can just go in and read that, private key off your device, right? Like they could with the mobile application. And that's also the difference between offline wallets and cold wallets. That's part of it. Like if a hardware wallet's unplugged, stuck somewhere, like, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to have software that's like, connected to it. Other wallets are still safe, right? As far as I know. Just affecting iOS, as far as I know. So somebody's asking about Nomad. So this is unrelated to Nomad. So Nomad happened yesterday. We talked about that when we got 2 hack days back in a row. But this is unrelated to Nomad. I mean, also, as far as I know. Do you think that crypto DeFi becomes more mainstream, that there are insurance companies offering insurance to projects to protect against crypto hacks and whatnot? There already are people doing this in DeFi. Like you can get insurance for like deposit insurance to smart contracts and stuff like that. I think we'll see that get expanded as adoption continues. Somebody says, should ETH wallet owners be concerned after the Solana hack? It looks like we are. It looks like there are some ETH users affected, but it looks like it's only ETH users who also use the same Solana wallet, most likely with the same seed phrase for both chains. Okay, so basically, like if you had set up your wallet on the Solana wallet and then maybe like use that same seed phrase in a different Ethereum wallet or vice versa, then you would be affected. But as far as we know, there's only like, it's only like this is the entire transaction history of the attacker on the ETH chain that we know of. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's that much. I mean that sucks to lose this amount of money for sure, but it's not as big as the Solana. And it's a small number of unique users, like 1, 2, 3. Let's just see here. 12. So it's like about 12 users, 10, 12 users. All right, everybody. So that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. It really helps these videos out, so then we're learn about blockchain. And if you're as fast at this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find those free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I share a master blockchain step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching.